I combed my hair today because my grandmother said that she would no longer watch our videos if I had my hair flying out of the back of my backwards hat. So, Nunner, this is for you. Also, I got a little treat for you. I'm gonna break down some quarterbacks. Where'd they go in the draft? Is it a good fit, a great fit? Are you gonna get reps? Why did they pick you? Why? We'll find out today on the Homegrown Network. Film Room. First off, Cam Ward. Cam Ward, number one pick. Love it. Love his film. I love everything about him. I love his work ethic. I love his leadership. I love the fact that he started at Incarnate Word, went to Washington State, bumped up to Miami, played some great football. The only thing that I'm hesitant about, and we've talked about this before, the fit in Tennessee is very much a pro-style offense. Callahan was with Gruden, West Coast, very much read and react, pro-style, rip through progressions, not at all what Cam Ward did at Miami. I'm not saying he can't do that, but what I was concerned about was alleviated over the course of the weekend. Covered the draft, talked to some Tennessee Titans, talked to some friends of some Titans coaches, and I believe now they're gonna build an offense tailored perfectly for Cam Ward. So I'm saying Cam Ward to Tennessee, get excited Titans fans, because that's a great fit. Next, let's just bounce around here. Let's grab young Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord went to Philly. I love Kyle McCord's tape. If you watched me, I said Kyle McCord, I think he might have been on the NFL Network, was my 5th favorite quarterback in this draft. He didn't get a lot of love, but Philly knew who he was. Philly grabbed him, smart, because the kid can play. He can rip it down the field. He has great leadership qualities. The Syracuse coaches trusted him more than, and I quote, anyone else on my staff, says the head coach. So that just means a lot to me. Then that matched up with the tape. Now he's not a mobile guy, which is really interesting. Why'd Philly take him? It's kind of opposite. You know, some people believe around the league that you draft a guy or you bring in guys that are very similar. And that makes a lot of sense because your offense doesn't have to change. But what I like about what Philly did in grabbing him is they're not dumb. No one else is going to be able to do what Jalen Hurts does on the ground and in the air. So they're going to bring in a guy like Kyle that if he has to play, probably going to be in some situations where they're going to have to throw the ball around a little bit. So let's go grab a great pocket passer that sees the field really well, and let's throw him in here. I'm going to say that this could be a great fit. I'm not going to say it is a great fit just because it's a little bit out of the box to get someone that doesn't necessarily do what your starting quarterback does. But I really like Kyle McCord's film. I like all the other stuff, intangibles that I heard about him, around him, and I love where he went. Philly's great. Now, they've changed coordinators a couple times, but I still think that they're a good team. Obviously, they're a Super Bowl champion, and they got a great nucleus. So I think that's a great spot for him. Tyler Shough. Tyler Shough went to New Orleans. Welcome to the Saints, Tyler. Fantastic. So here's what I like about this. All right, we know that Derek's dealing with his shoulder. They're trying to figure out, is it surgery, is it not surgery? Can we rehab, get ready for the season? What's going to happen there? We don't really know. I'm just being honest. Derek doesn't know. The Saints are trying to figure it out. They're working together. But the reality is that he might not be ready for the season to start. So what do you have to do? What do you do if you're that Saints team, right? If you're Mickey? You go out there and you find a veteran quarterback in the draft. That's smart. Not expensive like a veteran quarterback around there. 25, 26, played a ton of football. He's seen a lot of football. Great processor. I think it's a great fit for Kellen Moore to come in, compete with those other two quarterbacks. All right, we like those other two quarterbacks a lot. Obviously, Derek's teammates. But I think that's going to be a great quarterback room. It's going to be very competitive because they're still young, but they've played a lot. So it's kind of interesting dynamic because you got two young quarterbacks that have played a little bit, and then you got Tyler coming in who's played a lot in college, hasn't really played in the NFL. So interesting quarterback room. I think it's going to be a great spot. I think he will get reps. I think this could even be a great fit for the Saints. So good job, Tyler. Congratulations. Welcome to New Orleans. All right, next one. Let's go to Dillon Gabriel. Dillon Gabriel, interestingly enough, and another quarterback on this list, were picked to the same team. What are we doing? Okay, I won't say why me yet. I'll say Dillon Gabriel because here's why. He's played a ton, right? And when you watch him play, he has a live arm. We're watching the combine. We're covering it. He has some of the strongest as far as velocity and tight spirals. We can trace RPMs now. So tightest, fastest ball. And he's not a very big guy. So he throws it with great mechanics. The thing about Kevin Stefanski's offense is you have to be able to rip through progressions, make good, decisive, accurate throws, and you gotta have a little bit of velocity. You gotta push the ball on the field off the action. I actually think this is great. Now, I will say this. There is a loaded quarterback room in Cleveland. So I do think that for Dillon, this could be great, but I'm also going to say, man, will I get reps? That's got to be a question, right? What's going to actually happen? There's reports Shadur already showed up in Cleveland. He's ready to go. Deion's selling his house in Texas. What's happening? Are they all moving to Cleveland? Is he going to take? Who knows, right? I also heard, this is crazy. I had some people ask me, why would we draft Shedeur, right? His dad might come take our job. It's a very real thing. So let's go to Shedeur right now since we're here. Because they took them both, why can't we talk about both these guys? So when I look at Shedeur, obviously after you talk to people in the draft, they won't talk to you before the first round. They'll talk to you, even if they're your friends, but they won't really tell you how they have their draft board lined out. You're kind of on your own. So what happens is all the people that have been prognosticating and deciding that Shedeur is linked with Travis Hunter as far as elite talents, they should be picked 1, 2. It kind of was just, it was fairy dust. It wasn't a real thing, you know? It's a fugazi, it's a fugazi, right? It's not, it doesn't exist. It's not real, right? So I think that that's what happened. I had people tell me that he was 4th, 5th round on their boards, which is where he went. So Shedeur has ability. I think the biggest question marks are some of the things that he said. Honestly, I'm just going to tell you in the interviews, like they just weren't great. There needs to be some accountability, which is normal for any quarterback. But I actually love his leadership ability. I love that mindset. The one thing that you know about Shedeur, okay, is that he's not going to shy away when the lights are on, like sometimes we do, right? And that's just natural. It's human nature. But man, he rises to the challenge. So it's easier for me to grab a guy and kind of tailor him, bring him back. Like, oh, he makes too many plays. He's trying to bite. He's trying to reset a program in Colorado, right? So I give him a little bit of a pass for that. So I think it was a little unfair where he was drafted. I think that I probably would have drafted him higher. I know I had him as my number 2 quarterback. I think he's a good player. In the right system, I do like that he went to Cleveland. I think that's a good spot, even though his dad tweeted a couple years ago, I would not send my son to Cleveland. Well, he's there. Okay, I'm sure Deion is happy now, and he's rethinking that. And that might even been before Kevin Stefanski got there, because Kevin's a great football coach. But that's the question. He's not just happy to be in the league, because he's showing up to OTAs early. He might be saying, why me? But at that point, he definitely wasn't. So I'm going to think, okay, will I get reps? I have to put him next to Dylan. Will I get some reps? How's this going to work out? Joe Flacco's there. Kenny Pickett's there. What are they going to do? I think probably they'll say, we know what Joe is. He'll get as many reps as he needs to get ready for the season. Kenny Pickett will now find himself a little bit in a battle with these other 2 quarterbacks. Now, in reality, nobody's keeping 4, okay? They'll keep 3, throw 1 on the practice squad, but what happens when you throw someone on the practice squad is they're snatched up. So that's the rub right there. Let's see if we can get a satellite cam or something to watch the Cleveland Browns practice in the spring, because that's going to be bonkers. I can't wait to watch it. Hopefully those guys do well. It's going to be a fun competition. Where are we going to go? Let's go Will Howard, okay? Will Howard, I think, for me, when you look at it, first of all, Will Howard reminds me, the guy's a national champion. Played a lot of football. Actually, he's the reason Kyle McCord was in Syracuse. So when you think about it, Will has done some good things. He was begging for the Steelers to pick him too on draft day. It was fantastic. He's like, please pick me. I'm like, that's awesome. I love that. Even though I think most of his fans, or most of his family, they're fans of Philly. You could switch that, all right? We could be Pittsburgh Steelers fans real quick. The interesting thing for me is, like, you watch the Steelers, they're trying to find Ben Roethlisberger. They're like, Will Howard's a big guy. He's got a big arm. Yes, he does. I think that he could be a great quarterback in Pittsburgh. We'll see what happens there. We'll see if they're even done in that saga, because I know that Mike Tomlin was asked about Aaron Rodgers, and there's still, maybe that's a possibility out there. But I think Will, don't just be happy to be in the league. I'm going to say, just because if this Aaron Rodgers thing doesn't work out, this could be great for Will. Plug right into that Arthur Smith system, throw the ball around to those studs outside, even though George unfollowed the Steelers or something the other day. I mean, what are we doing? All right, but DK's there. Those guys are going to be there. I think Will could actually do really well in this offense. If no one else shows up to play quarterback there, that's a very good seat for him. You love that I haven't put anyone on the why me category right now, because I like this. Now, maybe why me could be Shedeur sitting there and waiting for several rounds longer than he thought he would have to wait. But man, a lot of good ones have sat there. Aaron Rodgers, Dan Marino. There's a lot of quarterbacks that have kind of fallen. I mean, Tom Brady, where was he drafted? Jackson Dart. Where did Jackson Dart land? The New York Football Giants. You know who else they got? Carter. Yeah, I think he wants to wear Lawrence Taylor's number, but don't worry about that. Jackson Dart. I actually think this is a great fit. Not just because I'm a Giant, okay? But because I really think that there are 2 veteran quarterbacks in that room. Jameis, in particular, that I know through Derek, fantastic teammate. Jameis literally I can honestly say he wants what's best for Jackson Dart right now. Now, they're going to compete their tail off, but he's going to help that man, and that's fantastic. That's a great thing to have. So good on you, Jameis. Help this young guy along. Russ is probably still in the same boat. I don't know Russ as well, but competitive, yes, absolutely. Still believes he can play at a high level, absolutely. Probably a little bit upset about what happened at Pittsburgh last year, but they kind of just let him move on. But Brian Daboll is why I say Jackson Dart is a great fit. Great fit because I think the quarterback room is going to be good and competitive. You got some veteran guys in there. You're eventually going to be the guy. But Brian Daboll, for me, took a young Josh Allen that could run the ball a little bit, kind of groomed him, brought him along, made him into the passer that he is today. I think he can do the same things. When you look at Jackson and you say, why did the Giants take him? Well, they took Daniel. Daniel Jones could run. He had that element. So Daboll could run that type of offense. We could run the ball at the quarterback. We could play RPO games. We could utilize the leverage with the numbers, right? 11 on 11. When you just hand the ball off and you turn your back on the defense, it's now 10 on 11. You're just a spectator. You might as well buy a ticket. But Brian Daboll involves the quarterback in the run game, and I love that. And you can do that with Jackson. Probably can't do it as much with Jackson as you can with Josh Allen in Buffalo, but you can still do it. But I think what he gives you that Daniel maybe didn't is more efficiency in the passing game. The ability to push the ball down the field with accuracy. The killer instinct of throwing the ball down the field. Like, this kid lets it go. He was coached by Lane Kiffin, who's insane. I should know. Lane was my roommate. I could tell you a story about that later. Maybe we will. That'll be on story time. But Jackson can play. And I love the system fit because Lane runs a very unique offense, and Brian Daboll has the ability and has done and run a very unique offense in the NFL. They have a lot of weapons. I think the defensive lines have gotten a lot better. And I think Jackson is in a great spot. Lastly, Jalen Milroe. Why did I choose Jalen last? Because I like Jalen a lot. And I think that it had to be a very unique situation for him to go in and for me to feel like, okay, they're not going to put him in a position where he just has to learn how to play quarterback right away at the NFL level. I watched him at Alabama last year. Now, Kalen DeBoer, he's a very talented offensive play caller. Very talented. Just look at what he did with Michael Penix at Washington, okay? Elite play caller. When he went to Alabama, there was a little bit of, we got to figure out what Jalen does well. There's some RPO games, some run game elements. Now, Kalen does that well. He's not great at that. That's not what has given him, the ability to kind of go from Fresno State to Washington to Alabama. That his passing game stuff is fantastic. Jalen and Kalen's offense didn't really mesh. They did their best. They did very well. I think Jalen throws the ball down the field a lot better than people give him credit for. But he landed in Seattle. Now, why do I think that's really interesting? This is why. Clint Kubiak is now the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. They definitely want to run the ball. That's why the change was made. Head coach said, look, we're running the football. So that's going to happen. He's going to be the Taysom Hill in this offense. Get excited. He's going to be doing all the stuff Taysom did last year in Seattle. I think Clint learned from that experience. He's going to use Jalen Milroe in that exact role. Let's get excited for Jalen Milroe in Seattle. I am personally. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.